Let's have some more news. Wildwood population gain slows as the village turns to Lake County. An 86-year-old villager dies after golf cart crashes into a wall. Lake Panosopsky residents wants a permanent death to the sewer project. A drunken stepson arrested after locked out of the house by his stepfather. $50,000 in jewelry stolen during a villager's move to Freedom Point. Tempers flare in the latest eruption over anonymous complaint system. A screaming villager arrested at a square claiming a plot to kill Trump. A city in growth hyper, Sumter County actually shrinking in size. The city of Coleman says no to Wildwood. A fugitive who hid out in the villages is sentenced to 25 years in jail for sextortion of minors. Villages updates, letters to the editor, this and more. Coming up. Let's have some more news. I got some updates. We'll slide through them first. A Walmart shoplifting suspect is back behind bars after her latest arrest. Lucretia Sharon, 53 of Summerfield, was booked without bond Saturday at the Marine County Jail. She has been charged with violating her probation in Lake County. Sharon was arrested August 9th after allegedly stealing binoculars, yellow safety glasses, and rope from Walmart in Summerfield. Due to the previous theft conviction, she was arrested on a felony charge of theft. She was also found to be in possession of drug paraphernalia. She was booked at the jail and released on a $4,000 bond. However, her latest arrest is considered a violation of probation in Lake County. She also was arrested in 2023 for driving while license suspended. Due to the previous theft conviction, Sharon was arrested on a felony charge of theft as well as felony charge of drug possession. She was also arrested on a misdemeanor charge of possession of drug paraphernalia. She was booked at the Marine County Jail on a $4,000 bond. This case goes back, I think, a couple of years. I remember it. If you're watching my channel, you should remember it. A 22-year-old fugitive who was arrested in 2021 after he was found hiding in the villages has been sentenced to 25 years in prison for coercing nearly 20 minor females to send him nude photos and sexually explicit videos that he sold online. This is a real piece of work, this kid. Aiden Willis Yeager of Louisville, Kentucky was sentenced to spend 25 years in federal prison for sexual exploitation of children in July. Yeager, who pled guilty in March, will spend the rest of his life on probation after he is released. According to a plea agreement in November 2020, the West Alabama Humane Traffic Task Force received a cyber tip line report from the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children related to acts of sexual extortion called sextortion of a minor female by Yeager. Yeager coerced and enticed the minor female to send him nude photos of herself before selling the photos online to other individuals. When the minor would refuse to send more pictures, Yeager would threaten to send her nude photos to everyone in her contact list on social media. During an investigation of Yeager's Dropbox account, FBI agents found 60 individual folders that were labeled with different female names. Each of the folders contained sexually explicit images and videos of minor females. Agents were able to positively identify and locate at least 19 minor females who had been contacted by Yeager to send pornographic photos. As part of his sentence, Yeager must also pay $92,620 in restitution to the victims and a $50,000 special assessment under the Amy, Vicky, and Andy Act, according to the statement issued by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Alabama. Yeager was originally taken into custody as a fugitive from justice in 2021 while he was living in a villa at Lake Sumter Landing. Aiden Yeager was arrested at 1134 Peninsula Street at Creekside Landing in the Villages. At the time, Yeager was wanted by investigators on several sexual extortion charges, all involving minors under the age of 17. Yeager is a native of Louisville, Kentucky, and attended Trinity High School, a Catholic all-boys college preparatory high school located at St. Matthews, Kentucky, a city within the Louisville metro. In 2019, he was named the National Merit semifinalist at Trinity High School. After his arrest in 2021, Yeager was released on bond bond and was not arrested again until 2023 when a 4-count indictment was filed against him in U.S. District Court. The villa where Yeager was taken into custody was purchased in June 2021 for $400,000 by Dennis Kayett and Julie Yeager Kayett, must be his parents, who are real estate agents in Louisville, Kentucky. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Here's another update on a case that goes back at least a year, I think, maybe more. A 21-year-old has been ordered into Batterer's intervention program after his arrest last year in connection with an altercation at an Airbnb in the Villages. Murphy Robert Glenn Palmer has been allowed to enter into a pretrial intervention contract that could enable him to escape prosecution on a charge of battery. Palmer originally was arrested in 2023 after a woman told St. Clair County Sheriff's deputies that she had been abused by Palmer at an Airbnb rental at 2110 Estevez Drive in Villa Vera Cruz in the village of Santo Domingo. She claimed that Palmer, who stands 6 feet 4 inches tall and weighs 185 pounds, punched her legs with his fist, leaving several small purple bruises. She also claimed that he grabbed her left arm and right leg, digging his fingernails into her flesh and leaving small abrasions. The woman's injuries were consistent with her claimed mechanism of injury. Palmer, who was identified by his Michigan driver's license, denied battering or grabbing the woman. Here's an update on a shoplifting case. A villager who fled a local Walmart in a BMV won't be prosecuted for shoplifting. Kathleen Ann Visgalio, 63 of the village of Atram Dales, has completed a shoplifting course and paid $75.28 restitution to Walmart, fulfilling her terms of a pretrial intervention contract. She was also banned from Walmart stores in Sumter County. Ooh, all of them, I guess. Visgalio called the Sumter County Sheriff's Office on May 13 and admitted she was the suspect in a shoplifting being sought in a theft case at the Walmart store at Sarasota Plaza. Earlier on May 13, a detective had gone to Visgalio's home on Day Drive and spoke with her husband, whose BMV was spotted at the store that day. She had been at the store on March 28th and selected multiple items according to the arrest report. She headed for the self-checkout aisle and used a 25-cent barcode to scan for some of the higher-priced items. She used a debit card to pay $17.68 for items that should have cost $92.96. She took her merchandise to a white BMW X3 and drove away. A detective found that she had used a debit card issued by Wells Fargo when she conducted the transaction. The debit card was in her husband's name. The white 2022 BMW X3 was also registered in his name. A check of her driver's license photo showed it was a match for the surveillance image of the woman scanning the items with the 25-cent barcode in the self-checkout aisle. However, the Pennsylvania native has avoided prosecution in the theft case due to her successful completion of the terms of the PTI contract. I don't understand why anybody would do a self-checkout to start with. Do you work for that store? Are you being paid to do this? Here's another update. A villager will lose his driver's license as a result of a golf cart drunk driving arrest. Thomas John Allen, 62, who lives in the Southwood Villas in the village of Buttonwood, entered a plea of no contest this past week in Sumter County Court to a charge of driving under the influence. He has lost his driver's license for 6 months, has been placed on probation for 1 year, and has been ordered to perform 50 hours of community service. And that's his update. Alcohol can be a real problem here in the villages. Here's a story here that I find really funny. Wildwood commissioners, they approve everything. Somewhere along the line, I think they screwed up. Wildwood commissioners Monday night approved the emergency purchase of a pump to deal with persistent stormwater problems in a neighborhood south of the Home Depot at Powell Road and Cleveland Avenue on County Road 466A. Last month, Mary Wimberly, who lives a block south of the store, told commissioners she was trapped in her home for 2 days due to flooding from a tropical storm, Debbie. The problem was blamed on a retention pond south of Home Depot that doesn't drain properly. Commissioners refused a request from the store to help drain the pond due to the potential legal liability. Wimberly told commissioners this week that she has seen tanker trucks removing water from the pond. There has been some improvement, she said. There is still a problem with the water. The city has been renting a pump and now will buy its own 60 horsepower dewatering pump from Exlam of Sanford for $106,000. $304. City manager Jason McHugh said the pump was in next year's budget and the emergency purchase will be eligible for reimbursement from the Federal Emergency Management Authority, or FEMA. They're looking for solutions, McHugh said of Home Depot. We're actively trying to reduce the problem that we have out there. Commissioner Joe Elliott praised McHugh for his efforts. We've got a problem and we've got an opportunity to move this forward, he said. Jazz Burns, who also lives in the neighborhood, told commissioners that the pump placed in the middle of a circle blocks a neighbor from parking in his driveway. We will see what we can do to get that pump out of there, McHugh said. And is this going to be a permanent fix, or is this just until they figure something out? A lot of questions here, huh? Wildwood's population gain slowed significant over the past year as the villages moved its focus to building homes in Lake County. The city's population reached 31,337 as of April 1, up about 3% since 2023, according to the latest estimate from the University of Florida Bureau of Economic and Business Research. The number of residents has effectively doubled since 2020 census, when the population was 15,730. City manager Jason McHugh told commissioners the city was adding about 4,000 to 5,000 residents a year and probably will return to that pace as the villages moves its expansion back to Sumter County. Mayor Ed Wolf recalled that the population was 1,200 when he began his city government career more than 50 years ago. Wildwood's rapid growth has required the city to spend $150 million to expand its wastewater treatment capacity. The city is building a new treatment plant next to the old one, and the two plants will process up to 4.5 million gallons daily. So as the villages expands, they're encroaching on more and more smaller communities that are getting up in arms. This isn't new. This happens a lot. I mentioned in one of my news reports before, you're going to start hearing more and more of small communities maybe you haven't heard before, one of which was Lake Penasovsky. Another one was Coleman. There's a few more. Now they're trying to get those people into the city program so they can start billing them, I guess, to help pay for this water treatment program. And these people in the country that's lived out there for many generations and years, years and generations, they don't want it. They don't want nothing to do with this. And so they're starting to come up in arms complaining about it. And I'll keep you informed with it as much as I can. So it'll be newsworthy and something we can follow. Well, there's been another death in the villages. An 86-year-old villager has died after his golf cart crashed into a retaining wall along the golf cart path in the villages. The man appears to have suffered a medical episode at about 9:30 a.m. Wednesday while traveling along the golf cart path behind Palm Ridge Dental, located northwest of the intersection with County Road 101 and Wedgwood Lane, according to the Florida Highway Patrol. The villager lost consciousness and the golf cart drifted into the right lane before striking the retaining wall along the right side of the cart path. The man was transported from the scene by the village's public safety department and later died at a local medical facility. I know something like that can't be helped, but it's just a shame because now it's a whole family. It's not just a one guy. It's this whole family. It'd be the same thing as if something happened to you. Look at the people in your family it's going to affect. The Lake Penasovsky Sewer Treatment Plant. I was just talking about this, and here's an article about it. The Lake Penasovsky Sewer Treatment Plant project is dead, Sumter County Administrator Bradley Arnold told commissioners Tuesday night. But residents asked commissioners to pass a resolution rescinding the project to drive the last nail in its coffin. The Florida Government Utility Authority, FGUA, FGUA, put the project in hold early this month, and Arnold said it only could be revived with a new resolution and a financial commitment from Sumter County, which the current board is not willing to provide. That commitment would come through creation of a dependent district, which could levy taxes, but Arnold said that would violate current county policy. Federal money from the American Rescue Plan Act received by Sumter County paid for a Lake Penasovsky sewer project study. The project was turned over to the FGUA in conjunction with the Lake Penasovsky Water Association. FGUA held several meetings with residents who angrily opposed the project due to the estimated cost of up to $40,000 per home without grant funding. No grants were available. Municipal sewers are viewed as a way to improve the lake's water quality. Residents feared that they would open their small community up to a rampant of development. They also are concerned that newly elected county commissioners commissioners could have a different view of the project than the current members. Oh, two of them will, guarantee it. They said Lake Panasoffkee needs road repairs more than sewers. There are a lot of things we need help on, but flushing our toilets is not one of them, said Lori Taylor. We need the word that this will be rescinded. Deborah Arcus said residents want this stopped permanently. We do not want it on the table. We do not want sewage anywhere near our water, she said. We do not want the villages at our front door, and that will happen if you bring sewers in. I believe she's right. Charles Pennington said the project should be terminated, so it will never come back again. And that's the end of that, and I'm sure we'll hear some more. I did a little report here a while back where Wildwood was trying to encroach on a little town that nobody's ever really heard of called Royal, R-O-Y-A-L. It goes back to the slave days, actually, I think, or shortly after that, where 40 acres and a mule was a law. And each one of those people over there, their ancestors, received 40 acres and a mule. And Wildwood was trying to encroach on that, I think, for an industrial park. And finally, there was some real smart lady, don't know who it was, you have to go back on the report and look for it, to where she had Royal, I believe, or she's in the process of having Royal put on the historical register for historical sites. And if they do that, that'll be hands off. And I thought that was ingenious. A drunken stepson was arrested after he was locked out of the house by his stepfather. Marion County Sheriff's deputies were called early Tuesday morning to the home that 54-year-old Lawrence Anthony Dvorak shares with his mother and stepfather in Summerfield. The Illinois native was intoxicated and attacked his stepfather, according to the arrest report. Dvorak, who stands 5 feet 11 inches tall and weighs 200 pounds, gestured to his physique when he made the threat. A ring camera captured the back patio altercation on surveillance. I mean, come on, look at me. I already got superiority over your ass, he told his stepfather. Dvorak proceeded to reach out and strike his stepfather 5 times. The stepfather went inside, locked Dvorak out of the home, and law enforcement was summoned. Dvorak has lived with his mother and stepfather for the past 17 years. 17 years living with his mommy and daddy. You gotta learn. Tough love, man. You gotta learn. He was arrested on a charge of battery and booked at the Marion County Jail, where he was initially held without bond. Okay, here's some news about the Winn-Dixie grocery store. A popular Winn-Dixie location in the villages will be remodeled and converted into an Aldi just over a year after the Southeastern grocery chain was acquired in a multi-billion-dollar deal. The Winn-Dixie at 820 Old Camp Road in Lake Sumter Landing will undergo remodeling to be converted into Aldi store number 2523. During a visit to the establishment on Wednesday, a staff member at the facility informed villagesnews.com that the employees had not yet been informed of the upcoming conversion. Currently, there are over 50 employees working at this grocery store. The project is being managed by HGR Construction Incorporated, an Orlando-based contractor whose portfolio includes the development of several public grocery stores. The project architect is APD Engineering and Architectural PLLC, based in Victor, New York. According to construction records, HGR and its trade partners are not permitted to visit the site prior to September 5. Records also show that communication about the project is to remain strictly confidential and that details may not be shared by the contractor with store personnel and the public. The remodeling project consists of retrofitting an existing grocery store with new interior and exterior walls, floors, fixtures, lighting, and electrical and mechanical upgrades. The Winn-Dixie Supermarket at Lake Sumter Landing is one of 3 locations in the villages that were acquired by Aldi in August of 2023. The other 2 Winn-Dixie stores are situated at La Plaza Grande and Pinellas Plaza. Both of those locations are within a couple miles of existing Aldi supermarkets on U.S. Highway 441 in Lady Lake and County Road 466A in Wildwood. There you go. Aldi's taking over all the Winn-Dixies. We reported that, by the way, but they're just now getting around to remodeling all of them. Here's some more about some of the smaller communities basically at war with Wildwood Commission. Sumter County's smallest city is shrinking even more. A 361-acre site formerly in the city of Coleman was designated for industrial use this week by Sumter County commissioners. With more than 700 residents, Coleman's decision not to implement a plan for municipal wastewater services has stymied its growth potential. According to who? After no objections during the state review of the proposal, commissioners approved a comprehensive plan amendment reassigning the property to Sumter County. They also approved rezoning the land from industrial from agriculture and low-density residential. The land is east of Interstate 75 and north of County Road 514. It is close to other industrial areas along the interstate. Wildwood has agreed to provide municipal water and sewer to the site and also has an agreement to provide those services to Coleman if desired. Earlier this month, County Commissioner removed 1,456 acres from Coleman's joint planning area. Land in the city's joint planning area is targeted for future annexation. County Administrator Bradley Arnold said by choosing not to develop a municipal sewer system, Coleman has decided not to grow. Once again, I find that not true. In a similar pushback against potential development, Lake Panasoffsky residents successfully defeated a municipal sewer plan from their community this month because they feared it would change their small community. Oh, yes, it would. What this is all arguing about, really, is they don't want any of this stuff from Wildwood coming over there, like the water waste treatment plant, city water, city sewer, all that kind of stuff, because they don't want development from the villages or other contractors actually encroaching in their small town community. This is the pushback that I've been trying to inform people what's happening. They take over this pasture land and all this stuff, and they're building everything from apartment buildings to I don't even know what, pickleball courts, everything. And the long-time Florida residents, people that were born and raised here for generations, they see their lifestyle disappearing and they're pushing back. And you're going to hear more about some of these smaller communities. A screaming villager was arrested at Town Square, loudly claiming there was a plot to kill former President Trump. Officers responded to Spanish Springs Town Square at about 9 p.m. Wednesday, where 66-year-old Jamie Lynn Bryan of the historic side of the Villages was causing a disturbance, according to the arrest report from the Lady Lake Police Department. They found Bryan near the Bella Vita Italian Steakhouse outside bar, and she admitted she had been drinking wine. She appeared to be under the influence. At the time, she was yelling, crying, and being very loud, screaming that someone was trying to kill Trump. The arresting officer wrote in the report. Bryan began yelling at the police officers and was acting out of control. Police attempted to get her a ride home, but Bryan walked away and indicated she had a place to go. A short time later, Bryan began yelling at patrons outside Americanas Grill. She accused them of trying to kill Trump. I'm sorry. These people that drink a lot, man, they're wacko. She threw her cell phone at the bar area, but did not hit anyone. By this point, Bryan was extremely belligerent and began cursing the police officers. When officers attempted to take her into custody, she made herself limp, refused to stand, and laid down on the ground. I laugh. When she made herself limp, I'm thinking of my two kids when they were little, and we tried to get them to do something. We tried to pick them up, and they would go limp. You realize how hard it is to pick up a kid when they go limp? Officers put her in the back seat of a patrol car, and she continued to scream and berate the officers driving the vehicle during the trip to Lake County Jail. She was booked on charges of disorderly intoxication, battery on a law enforcement officer, and resisting arrest. She was released after posting a $7,000 bond. Hey, look, you're one of them people. If you want to drink, I don't care, but you need to stay home because you obviously cannot be in public when you do. Here's a story about some neighborhood trouble. Tempers flared Friday morning as community standards tried to address angry residents' questions about 31 anonymous complaints lodged in their neighborhood. The anonymous complaints have been filed in the village of Della Vista West, and residents are said to be extremely upset. Those attending the meeting said it became contentious. Residents had many questions and they felt they did not receive the answers they needed. The irony is that the anonymous complainer is hardly anonymous. It is said to be Ken Mann, who works for Community Watch and is also running for a seat on the Community Development District 1 Board of Supervisors. Well, you're not going to get very many votes this way. Mann did not respond to a request for comment from the villagesnews.com. He is also a resident of the villages of Della Vista West. However, he wrote a letter to the editor last year in which he expressed his feelings about anonymous complaints. If you keep your property looking good and comply with the deed restrictions for your property, what are you worried about? He asked in a letter. Residents of Dela Vista West have indicated that someone filed a complaint about man's property. He reportedly retaliated by filing 31 complaints against his neighbors. Some residents said they plan to raise the 31 complaints at the next CD1 Board of Supervisors meeting set for 8 a.m. Friday, September 13th at Savannah Center. Well, what I was going to say, I could see one or two things happening here. Either this is one of them people that is trying to get rid of anonymous complaints by making a point by making tons of them so they'll get rid of them, which I don't agree with. Or, other one I was going to say, which is what's happening here, somebody made an anonymous complaint on his property and now payback's a bitch. An 81-year-old villager had more than $50,000 worth of jewelry stolen when she was moved earlier this year to Freedom Point. Freedom Point, for those of you that don't know, back here, it's a picture of it. It's basically a retirement assisted living, I think, but they have golf cart parking garage in there. And so a lot of people here, they'll move from their homes here to Freedom Point. There's a hell of a waiting list, though, but that's where they go. It's a nice place. The woman purchased her unit at Freedom Point this past November for $342,600. She moved into Freedom Point in January. In February, she contacted the Sumter County Sheriff's Office to report that $50,000 worth of jewelry had about $500 cash and were missing. So she lost $50,000 worth of jewelry and $500 in cash. She initially told deputies she suspected the staff at Freedom Point stole her jewelry. However, after thoroughly questioning the staff, detectives determined that none of them was the culprit. The woman then suggested it might have been one of the movers who transported her items to Freedom Point. The moving company owner provided the names of the employees who had handled the woman's moving job. The detective found that one of the employees, 35-year-old John Lorenzo Fields Jr. of Ocala, had a lengthy pawn transaction history, according to the arrest report. The detective found that Fields had pawned about 20 pieces of women's jewelry at Walt's Pawn and Gun in Ocala, shortly after the woman's move to Freedom Point. When the detective called Fields, he initially denied any knowledge of the missing jewelry. When confronted with the pawning information, Fields admitted he may have picked up a few things. A warrant was issued for Fields' arrest on a charge of grand theft of more than $50,000 from a person over the age of 65. He was picked up earlier this month in Lake County. He remains free on a $10,000 bond. Probably the money out of the items that he hawked at the pawn shop. I hate a thief. With a passion, I hate a thief. Okay, how about a couple letters to the editor? To the editor. Pedal bikes should always be on a multimodal pass, as should e-bikes that cannot exceed 20 miles per hour. Any other vehicle that exceeds 20 miles per hour should require licensing, Florida tags, and mandatory insurance. I also wish that bicyclists be removed from the streets and use multimodal paths because that would be significantly less dangerous than on streets. Compare cyclist fatalities and injuries on streets versus on multimodal paths to understand the risk of cycling on streets when multimodal paths are readily available. That's sent in by Lionel Barnaby from the village of Atrim Dales. Thanks, Lionel. To the editor. The developer did a good job on putting in this new bar at Spanish Springs just off from the music and dance areas. But, that's what it says, but where's the restroom after we've had a couple of drinks? Nowhere. Oh, a football field distance away there is one. Who planned this setup without a restroom? At least put a satellite nearby. Ha ha. That's sent in by Ray Vile from the village of Orange Blossom Hills. Well, Ray, real quick, I think they intended for the restaurant that used to be there to be the one that people at Blondie's would probably use. And since that restaurant has packed up and moved out and is closed, you're left without a restaurant being right there. But I'm sure there'll be a restaurant going there soon, and I assume you'll be able to use it. We'll see. To the editor. I received my utility bills via email. Today I was pleasantly surprised to see the bill totally was cut about $80 less than normal. On closer inspection, I found the water usage was zero. The meter reading was exactly the same as the previous month's reading. I will be calling BCDD on Monday to ask why the reading was not taken. I believe if they read it next month, then I will be charged for 2 months' usage, which will result in an overcharge due to the volume being above 11,000 gallons at $3 difference a gallon. I suggest others check their bills carefully. That's sent in by Stephen Howlett from the village of Bel Air. Well, thanks, Stephen. I think maybe I better check mine. Well, I think that's going to be the news for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, I give credit to this news to all my Patreon members. And if it wasn't for them, this would be very hard for me to do. So with that being said, if you haven't become a Patreon member yet, I would like to ask you to consider it. It's easy done to be a Patreon member. You can go to my link. It's in the description box below. It'll take you right there, and then you can pick whatever level you want to be at. It starts at $2 a month, and it goes up from there, and you can pick whatever you think's fair. And with that, you'll get a lot of things. One thing you'll get is all the videos will be commercial free. You get all the stuff that I do put on the Village channel, like the news. You'll get it earlier than everybody else. And we also have a members lunch once in a while, not every month, not even every other month, just whenever it's convenient for everybody. We have it. And you'll also get a link sent to you from me for our free members only Discord page. And there you'll find a lot of people that live in the villages, don't live in the villages, around the villages. And if you want to get a different person's perspective about the villages and what's here and what's offered, you can talk to them. They share information all the time on there about who mows whose yard, who'd you get to put in your new windows, so on and so forth. And you can get all kinds of information there. And late at night, I get up late at night a lot to do this editing, and I find people are on there, sometimes 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Last night, there was a couple of them on there talking about somebody is starting a new job, and somebody in another country is coming here for a lifestyle visit, I believe, and they were asking, about different things that they should check into while here. That's the kind of stuff that goes on there, and it's there. So if that would interest you, I'll be glad to do that for you. Just become a Patreon member. Like I say, it starts as little as $2 a month, and you can get all that. Also, you can be a YouTube member. I got no problem with it. But the cheapest one there is $5 a month. And you're not going to get as much there as you will on Patreon. So I'm really enticing people to move to Patreon. I have a reason for that. I'll explain it someday. So with that being said, I'm just simply going to say, as you heard in this news report here, there was another death. It was something that couldn't be helped. But it seems like I'm reporting deaths in the villages anymore, like almost every week. And I don't like it. So just be careful. Be safe. Stay well. Stay aware.
And don't leave your keys in the golf cart.
This week's news is brought to you by my YouTube and Patreon members.